My name is Nova Gray, and I'm 33 years old. I'm telling you this story because I need you to understand that some family wounds don't bleed, they just ache quietly until one day, you can't feel them anymore. And that numbness? That's when you know something fundamental has changed. If you're listening to this from your car, your kitchen, or maybe lying in bed trying to make sense of your own complicated family, drop your city in the comments. Let's see how far this story travels. Because I promise you, what happened to me over Christmas last year isn't unique. Maybe you've lived some version of it too. The text from my mother came in September, 3 months before the holidays. Just 4 words. Need you home Christmas. Not we'd love to see you or we miss you. Need. Like I was a service being requested, not a daughter being invited. I stared at that message for a long time, sitting in my tiny studio apartment in Seattle, the rain streaking down my window like the city itself was crying. I'd moved out here 6 years ago for a marketing job that barely covered my rent, but it was mine, my life, my space. 3,000 miles away from the house I grew up in. The family that had slowly, systematically, made me feel like the help. I should have said no right then. But here's the thing about being the youngest, the only daughter, the one who was always so responsible, so mature for your age. You've been trained since childhood to say yes, to accommodate, to bend yourself into whatever shape your family needs you to be. So I texted back, "I'll check my work schedule. You'll make it work," she replied immediately. Family first. Family first. The phrase that had governed my entire life. The 2 words that had convinced me to skip my senior prom to watch my nephews so my brother Travis could go out with his wife. The same phrase that had guilted me into giving up my college funds so Travis could finish his business degree after he flunked out the first time. I bought the plane ticket that night. $647 I didn't really have, plus another $150 for a check bag because apparently you can't fly home for Christmas without bringing gifts that prove you still care. Between September and December, my mother texted me exactly twice. Once to confirm I was still coming, and once to ask if I could pick up something nice for my stepfather Gerald's birthday, which happened to fall on Christmas Eve. She sent me a link to a watch that cost $300. I bought it, put it on my credit card, added a gift receipt in case he wanted to return it. My brother Travis didn't text at all, but his wife Lacey sent me a group message in November asking all the aunties to chip in for a trampoline for the kids. I sent $50 through Venmo and got a thumbs up emoji in response. The flight from Seattle to Pittsburgh on December 22nd took 10 hours because of a layover in Denver. I left at 6 in the morning and didn't land until nearly 8 at night East Coast time. My body felt like it had been wrung out and hung up to dry. I'd worked a full day the day before, stayed up until midnight packing, and survived on airport coffee and those terrible protein boxes they sell at Hudson News. When I finally walked out of baggage claim, dragging my suitcase and carrying a duffel bag full of wrapped presents, I expected to see my mom waiting by the curb. Instead, I got a text. "Take an Uber. We're at dinner." I stood there in the cold December air, watching families reunite around me, fathers swinging kids onto their shoulders, mothers crying happy tears, couples embracing like they'd been separated for years instead of weeks. I opened my Uber app. $43 to get to the house I grew up in. The driver tried to make small talk, but I pretended to be asleep in the back seat, my forehead pressed against the cold window. I watched a familiar landscape roll by, the strip malls I'd known since childhood, the high school where I'd been on the honor roll all for years, the pizza place where I'd celebrated my 16th birthday with 2 friends because everyone else had been invited to a party I wasn't cool enough to attend. Nothing had changed, and yet everything felt different. Or maybe I was different. Maybe 6 years away had given me just enough distance to see clearly. The house looked exactly the same. 2-story colonial, white with black shutters, a wreath on the door that my mother probably bought at Home Goods. The driveway was full. Travis's massive pickup truck, Lacey's SUV, Gerald's sedan. Everyone was home. They just hadn't bothered to pick me up. I paid the driver, left a generous tip because I'm pathologically incapable of not tipping well, and rolled my suitcase up the driveway. My hands were numb. I'd forgotten how cold Pennsylvania winters could be, that bone-deep chill that Seattle's rain could never quite match. I didn't have a key anymore. They'd changed the locks 3 years ago and never sent me a copy. I rang the doorbell. It took almost a full minute before the door swung open, and there was my mother, Diane Sutton, 58 years old, hair perfectly highlighted in that expensive ash blonde way, wearing a cashmere sweater and dark jeans that probably cost more than my entire outfit. She looked at me like I was a delivery she'd been expecting. "Oh, good. You made it," she said. Not hello, not welcome home, not even a hug, just, "Oh, good. Hi, Mom." I tried to put warmth in my voice, tried to summon up the feeling I thought I should have coming home. Seeing my mother, Christmas magic. Nothing came. "Come in. You're letting the cold in." She stepped back, and I dragged my suitcase over the threshold. The house smelled like cinnamon candles and something baking. It looked like a magazine spread garland on the staircase, a massive tree in the living room, stockings hung on the mantel with everyone's names embroidered in gold thread. There was even one for me, though it looked exactly like the one I'd had since I was 12. No one had bothered to update it. "They're in the kitchen," my mom said, already walking away. I left my suitcase by the door and followed her voice. Travis was sitting at the kitchen island, a beer in his hand, laughing at something on his phone. Lacey was standing by the stove, stirring something in a pot, her blonde hair in a high ponytail, wearing leggings and an oversized sweatshirt that said Mama Bear. Gerald was at the kitchen table, reading a newspaper like it was still 1995. None of them looked up when I walked in. "Hey," I said. Travis glanced over, did a double take like he'd forgotten I existed. "Oh shit, Nova. When'd you get in?" "About 2 minutes ago." Cool. He took a sip of his beer. "Flight okay? Long?" "Yeah. Flying sucks." He was already looking back at his phone. Lacey turned around, gave me a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Nova, God, it's been forever. You look tired. 10-hour flight. Oof, yeah. Well, there's leftover lasagna in the fridge if you're hungry. We already ate. I'd been traveling for 16 hours. No one had saved me a plate." "Where are the kids?" I asked, trying to fill the silence. "Upstairs. Probably destroying something," Lacey said with a laugh that suggested she found her children's chaos adorable rather than exhausting. Travis and Lacey had 3 kids: Brayden, 8, McKenna, 6, and Colton, 4. I'd seen them exactly twice in the past 6 years. Both times on video calls that lasted less than 5 minutes before the kids got bored and wandered away. My mother was bustling around the kitchen, wiping down counters that were already clean. "Nova, we need to talk to you about something." My stomach dropped. I knew that tone. It was the same tone she'd used when she told me they were selling my childhood bedroom furniture while I was away at college. The same tone when she'd announced she and Gerald were using my college fund to put an addition on the house. "Okay," I said slowly, "let's sit in the living room. This is a family discussion." A family discussion. The phrase that always meant we've already decided something, and now we're going to inform you of your role in it. We all moved to the living room: me, Mom, Gerald, Travis, Lacey. I sat on the love seat. Everyone else took the good seats, the comfortable ones. My mother perched on the edge of the sofa, her hands clasped in her lap like she was about to deliver a speech. "So, we have some exciting news." I waited. "Gerald and I are taking Travis and Lacey on a cruise for Christmas." The words hung in the air. I processed them slowly, like my brain was translating from a foreign language. "A cruise," I repeated. "Yes, a Caribbean cruise. We leave Christmas Day. We'll be gone for a week. It's going to be wonderful. We sail out of Fort Lauderdale. We've got excursions planned. The whole thing." I looked at Travis and Lacey. They were grinning like kids who'd just been told they were going to Disney World. "That sounds great," I said carefully. "Have a wonderful time." "Here's the thing," my mother continued, and there it was, the real reason I'd been summoned home. "We need someone to watch the kids." The room went very quiet. "I'm sorry," I said. "The kids, Brayden, McKenna, and Colton, they can't come on the cruise. It's adults only." It was a whole thing with the booking, so we need someone reliable to stay here with them. And you want me to do it? It wasn't a question. I could see it in their faces. The way they were all looking at me with that expectant expression, like this was obvious, like this was the whole reason I'd been called home. Well, you're here, my mother said, like that settled it. And you're so good with kids. I'd spent maybe 20 cumulative hours with my nephews and niece in their entire lives. Mom, I flew home to spend Christmas with the family. You'll be here with the kids. That's family. But you'll all be gone. It's just a week, Nova. Don't be dramatic. The word she'd been using on me since I was 12 years old. Anytime I expressed an emotion she found inconvenient, Travis leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Come on, Nova. It's not like you had big plans. You're between jobs anyway, right? I have a job. I work in marketing. Yeah, but it's not like a career. You can work from anywhere, right? Just bring your laptop. I stared at my brother. We shared the same dark hair, the same sharp cheekbones we'd inherited from our father, the man who'd left when I was 6 and Travis was 9. The man whose absence had turned our mother into someone who clung to her second marriage like a lifeline. But Travis had gotten everything else from our mother, her ability to see other people as players in his story, her talent for making her needs sound like reasonable requests. I took time off work to be here, I said quietly. I use my vacation days. So you're not working. Perfect. Lacey clapped her hands together. It's settled then. I don't think, Nova. My mother's voice had that edge now, that sharpness that meant I was being difficult. We're asking you to help your family. Is that really so much? Yes. I wanted to scream. Yes. It is. You flew me across the country. You made me spend money I don't have. You didn't even pick me up from the airport. And now you're telling me you're all going on vacation and leaving me here as free childcare. But I didn't say any of that, because I'd been trained my whole life not to say it. When do you leave? I asked instead. Christmas morning early. We need to be in Fort Lauderdale by noon for boarding, so I'd have them for a week. Alone. You'll be fine, Lacey said brightly. They're really easy. I'll leave you a schedule and everything, and there's food in the house, my mother added. Plus, you can take them to that pizza place you like. Use our credit card for expenses. I almost laughed. They were making it sound like a favor to me, like they were offering me something valuable. What if I say no? I asked. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Why would you say no? My mother asked, her voice dangerously soft. Because I came home to spend time with my family. Not to we are your family, Travis cut in. Those kids are your family. Jesus, Nova, when did you become so selfish? Selfish. There it was. I'd given up my prom for his kids. I'd given up my college fund for his degree. I'd sent money when he and Lacey bought their first house, when their transmission died, when they needed help with medical bills. And I was selfish, Gerald finally spoke up, his voice carrying that paternal authority he'd been trying to assert over me for 20 years. Nova, your mother and I have been looking forward to this trip for months. Travis and Lacey deserve a vacation. They work very hard. We're just asking for 1 week. Surely you can manage that. 1 week. Like it was nothing. Like my time. My Christmas. My life, it all meant nothing. I looked around the room at these 4 people, my mother, my stepfather, my brother, my sister-in-law, and I realized something that made my chest ache. They didn't love me. Maybe they had once. Maybe when I was little, before the divorce, before Gerald, before Travis got married and had kids. Maybe there had been a time when I was more than just a person they called when they needed something. But that time was gone. Okay, I heard myself say. I'll do it. The relief in the room was palpable. My mother actually smiled, reached over and patted my hand like I was a good dog who'd finally obeyed. I knew you'd come through, she said. You always do, Travis was grinning. Hey, don't let them wipe their boogers on you. Colton's got a thing about that. They all laughed. A real family moment. Everyone bonding over the youngest kid's gross habits. I smiled too. The kind of smile that doesn't touch your eyes. The kind that's just moving your face muscles into the right configuration. And that's when I said it. The thing that made everything change. I'm really glad we're all together, I said softly, because there's actually something I need to tell you all. My mother looked up, distracted. What's that, honey? I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, pulled up a specific folder where I'd been keeping records. Years of records. Screenshots, receipts, Venmo transactions, emails. I need to talk to you about the money. The room went still. What money? My mother asked, her voice careful now. I looked at Travis. The money I gave you for your truck down payment. $12,000. December 2019. Travis's smile faltered. That was a loan. You never paid it back. We've been meaning to. I also gave you $8,000 for Lacey's hospital bills when Colton was born, and $6,000 when you needed a new roof, and $4,500 when your business was struggling last year. Lacey had gone pale. Those were family helping family. They were. I agreed. So here's the total. In the last 6 years, I've given you and Travis $31,500. That's not including the smaller stuff, the $50 here, the $100 there. My mother was shaking her head. Nova, this is hardly the time. And Mom, I continued, my voice still calm, still soft. I gave you $15,000 3 years ago when you said you and Gerald needed help with the mortgage. I gave you another $8,000 last year when you said you needed new appliances. That's $23,000. That was years ago, my mother said, but her voice was shaky now. And Gerald. I looked at my stepfather, who was trying very hard to look confused. You asked me for $7,000 to cover your daughter's wedding expenses. I've never even met your daughter, but I send the money because you're family. I pulled up my final calculation. The number I'd been watching grow for years. The debt that no one had ever acknowledged because they'd never planned to acknowledge it. The total amount I've given to this family in the last 6 years, I said, is $61,500. Not including the gifts, the plane tickets, the expenses. Just cash payments that were supposed to be loans but somehow became gifts. The silence was deafening. I kept records of everything. I continued. Dates, amounts, text messages where you asked for the money, bank statements showing the transfers. I even have the message where Travis promised to pay me back as soon as the business takes off. And Lacey's text thanking me for being the best aunt ever when I sent money for their Florida vacation last year. Travis found his voice first. You kept track? Like some kind of accountant? Like someone who was owed $61,000 and wanted to remember who owed it to me. My mother stood up, her hands trembling. This is unbelievable. We're your family, Nova. Family doesn't keep score. You're right, I said. Family doesn't keep score. But apparently I'm not family. I'm a bank. I'm childcare. I'm the person you call when you need something, and the person you forget about when you don't. That's not fair, Lacey said, but she couldn't look at me. Do you know what's not fair? I asked. Flying across the country because my mother begged me to come home for Christmas, only to find out I've been summoned to babysit while you all go on a cruise I wasn't invited on. A cruise that, by the way, cost about $6,000 per couple based on the brochure I saw on the counter. That's $12,000 for a vacation, while you owe me $31,000. Travis's face had gone red. You're really going to do this? On Christmas? You were really going to leave me here with your kids on Christmas? I shot back. So yeah, I'm really going to do this. My mother sank back onto the couch. She was whispering something under her breath, and I leaned in to hear. No way. No way what? I asked. She looked up at me, and for the first time in my life, I saw something like fear in her eyes. You wouldn't demand that money back, would you? I smiled. A real smile this time. Demand it back? No, that's not what I'm doing. The relief on their faces was almost comical. But, I continued, I am going to tell you what I am doing. I stood up, pocketing my phone. I'm leaving. Tomorrow morning, first flight out. I already looked, there's a M to Denver with a connection to Seattle. I'll be home by evening. Nova, my mother started. And I'm not babysitting your kids. Find someone else. Pay for actual childcare. Cancel your cruise. I honestly don't care what you do. But I'm done being the family ATM and the backup parent and the person who says yes to everything because she's too afraid of being called selfish. After everything we've done for you, Gerald said, his voice hard. I laughed. Actually laughed. What have you done for me? Name one thing. One single thing you've done for me in the last 6 years that wasn't asking me for something. Silence. You sold my bedroom furniture without asking. You used my college fund for your house addition. You didn't come to my graduation because it was the same weekend as Travis's business launch. You visited me in Seattle exactly 0 times. And the only reason you wanted me home for Christmas was so you'd have free childcare. That's not true, my mother whispered. We love you. No. I said quietly. You love what I do for you. That's not the same thing. I walked toward the stairs, ready to go up to whatever guest room they'd prepared for me, pack my things, and sleep until my early morning Uber to the airport. You're making a huge mistake, Travis called after me. I stopped, turned back. Am I? Because from where I'm standing, the mistake was all mine. The mistake was believing that if I just gave enough, helped enough, bent enough, you'd all finally see me as something other than useful. I climbed the stairs, listening to the explosion of arguing that erupted behind me. My mother's voice rising, Travis shouting something about ungrateful, Lacey crying, Gerald trying to restore order. I didn't care. The guest room was at the end of the hall. The smallest bedroom, painted a generic beige that screamed, you don't actually belong here. My old room. The one with the lavender walls and the window seat where I used to read for hours was now Gerald's home office. I'd seen it on a video call once. My mother giving me a tour of their renovations, completely oblivious to the fact that she was showing me how thoroughly they'd erased me from the house. I sat on the edge of the bed and opened my laptop. Here's what they didn't know. What I hadn't told them yet. I wasn't actually between jobs. I hadn't been for 3 years. When I first moved to Seattle, yes, I was scraping by on that marketing job, living in a studio apartment the size of most people's closets, eating ramen and wondering if I'd made a terrible mistake leaving home. But then something changed. I got good at what I did. Really good. I started freelancing on the side, building websites and social media campaigns for small businesses. One of those businesses was a tech startup that needed a complete brand overhaul. I did it in 3 weeks, working nights and weekends. And they loved it so much they hired me full-time with equity. That startup got acquired 18 months ago. My equity payout was $1.2 million. After taxes, I cleared about $700,000. The marketing job I supposedly had was actually me running my own consulting firm. I had 6 employees, all remote. We were on track to bill $2 million this year. But I never told my family any of this. Because the moment I told them I had money, really had money, they'd never see me as anything else. The requests would never stop. The loans would get bigger. I'd become a resource to be tapped indefinitely. So I let them think I was still struggling in my tiny apartment. Still barely making rent. Still the same broke 20-something they remembered. And every time they asked for money, I gave it, and I kept detailed records. I pulled up the document I'd been preparing for months. I called it the family ledger. And it was 63 pages long. Every loan, every request, every promise to pay me back that had evaporated into silence. Every text message, every email, every Venmo transaction. I'd organized it by person, by year, by category, and at the bottom, I'd included something else. A detailed breakdown of every major life event of mine they'd missed or dismissed. My college graduation, skipped because of Travis's business launch. My promotion to senior consultant, never mentioned. Because I called with the news the same day Lacey announced she was pregnant with Colton. My first 6-figure contract, shared in the family group chat. Received 3 responses, 2 thumbs up and 1 nice. The time I was hospitalized for appendicitis. Called everyone. No one flew out. My best friend from college sat with me through the surgery. My 30th birthday. Spent alone because they'd all forgotten. It was all there. A comprehensive record of exactly how little I'd mattered to the people who were supposed to love me most. I heard footsteps in the hallway, then a soft knock on my door. Nova? It was my mother's voice, small and hesitant. Can we talk? I didn't answer. Please, honey. I just want to talk. I opened the door. She looked older suddenly. The kitchen lighting upstairs less forgiving than downstairs. Her makeup was smudged under her eyes, and she was hugging herself like she was cold. Can I come in? I stepped aside. She sat on the edge of the bed, and I took the desk chair, maintaining distance. I don't understand why you're doing this, she said finally. Why you're being so cruel. Cruel. Yes. Throwing all of this in our faces, threatening to abandon the children on Christmas. I didn't threaten to abandon anyone. Those aren't my children. They're Travis's responsibility, and he's the one choosing to leave them on Christmas. For one vacation. After years of working so hard. He's been on 4 vacations this year, Mom. I've seen the pictures on Facebook. Lacey's Instagram is basically a travel blog. She flinched. That's different. How? They have a life here. A family. Responsibilities. You're alone in Seattle. You can do whatever you want, whenever you want. You don't understand what it's like to do what? To have people depend on me? To work hard? To sacrifice? I leaned forward. Mom, I've given you $61,000. I've given Travis $31,000. How is that not sacrifice? Those were gifts, she whispered. Between family. They were loans. Loans you promised to pay back and never did. We would have eventually. If you'd just been patient, it's been years. Travis has a brand new truck. You and Gerald just renovated your kitchen. Where exactly was the money going to come from? She was crying now, quiet tears sliding down her face. And I felt nothing. That should have scared me. The absence of sympathy, the lack of that automatic urge to comfort her. But it didn't. It felt like clarity. Why did you ask me to come home? I asked softly. The real reason. She sniffed, wiped at her eyes. Because you're my daughter. Because it's Christmas. No. Why did you specifically need me here? A long pause. Then, we couldn't find anyone else to watch the kids. All the regular babysitters are booked, and the professional services wanted too much money, and Travis and Lacey really needed this vacation, and I thought you'd be happy to help. There it was. The truth. Naked and simple. You thought I'd be happy to help, I repeated. Not that you wanted to see me. Not that you missed me. Just that I'd be a convenient solution. It's not like that. Then what is it like? She looked at me with genuine confusion, like she truly didn't understand why I was upset. Nova, you've always been so independent, so self-sufficient. You never seemed to need us the way Travis did. You just handled things. So when we needed help, of course we thought of you. I was a child, Mom. I didn't choose to be self-sufficient. I had to be, because you were so busy taking care of Travis that there was no room for me. That's not fair. Your brother had a hard time after your father left, so did I. But no one noticed, because I didn't act out. I didn't fail classes or get in trouble. I just quietly handled it, quietly raised myself, quietly became the person everyone could count on because no one was counting on me. She was shaking her head. You're remembering it wrong. We were always there for you. Name one time. What? One time. One specific instance in the last 10 years where you put me first. Where you chose me over Travis, or over your own convenience. Just one. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. Nothing came out. I'll tell you a time I remember, I said. I was 14. It was the junior high academic awards ceremony. I'd won 3 awards, highest GPA in my grade, excellence in English, and the principal's achievement award. You were supposed to come. You promised. I could see the memory starting to surface in her eyes. Travis had a basketball game that same night. It wasn't even an important game, it was middle of the season. They weren't even close to playoffs. But he begged you to come. And you did. You left a note on the kitchen counter saying you were sorry. You'd make it up to me. Nova. That was 20 years ago. You never made it up to me. But it taught me something important. That my achievements would always matter less than his needs. That I could be perfect, could excel at everything, and it still wouldn't be enough to make you choose me. That's not I didn't mean, it's fine. Mom, really, I'm not telling you this to make you feel guilty. I'm telling you because you need to understand that I'm done. I'm done being the backup plan, the emergency contact, The person you remember exists when you need something. She stood up, wringing her hands. So what? You're just going to cut us off? Never speak to us again? Over money? It's not about the money. It never was. Then what is it about? I stood too, met her eyes. It's about the fact that you've never once asked me how I am and actually wanted to know the answer. It's about flying 3,000 miles to be with my family on Christmas and realizing I don't have one. Not really. I have people who share my DNA and occasionally need my bank account. That's a horrible thing to say. It's a horrible thing to be true. She stared at me, and I watched as anger replaced the tears. That was more familiar, more comfortable for her. Fine, leave tomorrow. Abandon us. But don't expect us to be here when you change your mind. I won't, I said simply. She left, slamming the door behind her. I sat back down at my laptop and did something I'd been thinking about for months. I drafted an email to my lawyer. Subject: Family loan recovery. Kept it professional. Clinical. Listed every transaction, every piece of evidence. Asked about the feasibility of legal action to recover the funds. Not because I necessarily wanted to take them to court, but because I wanted to know my options. Then I drafted a second email. This one to Travis and Lacey directly. This is formal notice that I expect repayment of the $31,500 loaned to you between 2019 and 2024. I'm happy to set up a payment plan if needed, but I need commitment and timeline by January 15th. Otherwise, I'll be pursuing legal collection. I didn't send either email yet, but I saved them both. There was a commotion downstairs, raised voices. Someone crying. I heard Gerald's deep baritone trying to establish order. Travis shouting something about ungrateful little before his voice was drowned out. Let them fight. Let them figure out how to solve their own problems for once. I changed into my pajamas, set an alarm for 4:30 a.m., and got into bed. I didn't sleep well, but it wasn't guilt keeping me awake, it was anticipation. I woke up before my alarm, the house still dark and quiet. It was Christmas Eve. In a few hours, this house would be full of chaos, kids staring into presents, adults drinking coffee and pretending yesterday's explosion hadn't happened, but I wouldn't be here to see it. I showered quickly, dressed, repacked my suitcase. I left out the presents I'd brought: Gerald's expensive watch, a necklace for my mother, toys for the kids, a gift basket for Travis and Lacey. I stacked them all neatly on the dresser with a note: Merry Christmas. I hope you enjoy them. My Uber was arriving at 5:15. I timed it perfectly, early enough that no one would be awake to argue with me, late enough that I wouldn't be sitting in the airport for hours. I was dragging my suitcase down the stairs when I heard movement in the kitchen. Travis was sitting at the island, still in his pajamas, a mug of coffee in his hands. He looked rough, like he'd been up all night. You're really doing this, he said. Not a question. Yeah. Mom's devastated. She'll get over it. He laughed, a bitter sound. Jesus, Nova, when did you become such a bitch? I stopped, turned to look at him. My brother, the person I'd idolized as a kid, followed around like a puppy, defended to my friends when they called him a bully. I think it was somewhere around the time I realized you'd never pay me back, I said. Or maybe it was when you borrowed money for your struggling business and then posted pictures from Vegas. Or maybe it was yesterday, when you laughed about your kids wiping their boogers on me. It was a joke, was it? Because it felt pretty accurate. That's how you all see me, right? Someone gross things can be wiped on. Someone who exists to clean up your messes. He stood up, and for a second I thought he might actually apologize. But instead he said, You know what your problem is? You think you're better than us now. Got your fancy life in Seattle, your little job, your independence. But you're just alone, Nova. And when you're sick, when you're old, when you need help, who's going to be there? Not us. Not anymore. I felt the words land, felt them try to burrow into that soft place where my doubts lived, but they couldn't get in. Not anymore, Travis, I said calmly. I've needed help lots of times in the last 6 years, and you've never been there. None of you have. So the threat of your absence isn't as scary as you think it is. My phone buzzed. The Uber was 2 minutes away. I have to go. Fine, go, but don't expect us to welcome you back when you realize what you've lost. I walked past him, opened the front door. The cold morning air hit my face, sharp and clarifying. Travis? I called back. He'd followed me to the doorway. What? I already know what I've lost. I lost it years ago. I just didn't realize it until now. The Uber pulled up. A Prius with a tired-looking driver who helped me load my suitcase without asking questions. As we pulled away, I looked back at the house one last time. Through the kitchen window, I could see Travis still standing there, his face unreadable. I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel angry. I felt free. The flight back to Seattle was uneventful. I sat in my middle seat, drank terrible airplane coffee, and watched the country pass beneath me in a patchwork of clouds and land. I sent one text from the Denver layover to the family group chat I'd been part of for years. I'm not interested in being part of a family that only values me for what I can provide. If you're ever ready to treat me like a daughter, a sister, a human being with my own life and needs, my number hasn't changed. Until then, I wish you well. I left the group chat immediately after sending it. The responses came flooding into my personal number, bypassing my exit. My mother. How dare you? After everything we've done. Travis. You're going to regret this. Lacey. You're destroying this family. Gerald. Very disappointing, Nova. I blocked all of them. Not forever, maybe, but for now. For as long as it took to stop feeling like I was obligated to respond, to explain, to justify my decision to people who had never justified their treatment of me. I landed in Seattle at 7 p.m. on Christmas Eve. It was raining, because of course it was, but I'd never been so happy to see rain in my life. I took the light rail home, dragging my suitcase through puddles. And when I unlocked my apartment door, my studio apartment that I'd actually bought last year with my startup money but let everyone believe I still rented, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Home. I ordered Chinese food delivery, poured myself a glass of wine, and turned on a movie. My phone buzzed once more. An unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. Hello? Nova? A woman's voice, hesitant. It's Lacey. I almost hung up. I'm calling from a friend's phone because I knew you blocked me. She continued quickly. I need to say something. I waited. You were right. About all of it. Travis and I. We kept telling ourselves we'd pay you back, that we were good for it. But we never did. And we knew we were taking advantage of you. We told ourselves you didn't mind, that you wanted to help. I did want to help, I said quietly. But help is supposed to be voluntary. What you did was manipulation. I know. She was crying, and I know this doesn't fix anything. But I'm sorry. I'm really, really sorry. What about Travis? Is he sorry? A long pause. He's angry. He thinks you're being vindictive. Of course he does. But I think you did what you had to do. And I think maybe we needed to hear it. Lacey, I don't know what you want me to say. I don't want you to say anything. I just wanted you to know that someone heard you. Someone understood. She hung up before I could respond. I sat there with my Chinese food getting cold, processing the conversation. It wasn't enough. One apology from one person didn't erase years of being used. But it was something. A crack in the wall. A hint that maybe my words had landed somewhere. Christmas Day, I went for a run along the waterfront. The city was quiet. Most people inside with their families. And the rain had cleared into one of those rare Pacific Northwest winter days where the sky was blue and sharp. I ran for miles, listening to music, letting my mind wander. I thought about my father, the one who'd left when I was 6. I'd spent so much of my life angry at him, blaming him for breaking our family. But I understood now that our family had been broken long before he left. He'd just been the first one brave enough to walk away. I thought about my mother, who'd clung so hard to her second marriage that she'd forgotten to hold on to her daughter. I thought about Travis, who'd learned from a young age that the world would always catch him if he fell. So he never learned to stand on his own. And I thought about myself, about the girl I'd been, so desperate to be loved that she'd made herself useful instead. So afraid of being abandoned that she'd abandoned herself first. That girl was gone now. In her place was someone stronger, someone who knew her worth wasn't measured by her willingness to say yes. I stopped running at a coffee shop that was miraculously open on Christmas. The barista looked as tired as I felt. "Merry Christmas," she said, without much conviction. "You too. Are you stuck working?" She shrugged. "Volunteered. My family's on the other coast. Couldn't afford to fly back this year. Figured I might as well make holiday pay and help out people who need caffeine on Jesus' birthday." I laughed. "That's a good philosophy. What's your excuse for being out on Christmas morning?" "Recently orphaned myself from a toxic family situation," I said lightly, celebrating my first holiday as an independent adult. She grinned. "In that case, this coffee's on the house. Welcome to the island of misfit toys." I took my free coffee, a ridiculously complicated peppermint mocha situation that probably cost $8, and toasted her with it. "To misfits." I said, "To misfits." She agreed. I walked home slowly, sipping my coffee, and for the first time in my adult life, I wasn't dreading the questions that would come in January. "How was your Christmas? Did you see family? What did you do?" I had answers now. Good answers. True answers. I spent it exactly how I wanted to. I saw exactly who I wanted to see. I did exactly what I needed to do. 3 weeks later, on January 15th, I got an email from Travis_Sutton_1989 Subject: Payment plan over. "I've talked to Lacey, and we want to pay you back. We don't have it all at once, but we can do $500 a month. It'll take about 5 years, but we'll get it done. I'm also sorry. I don't know if that matters to you anymore, but I need to say it. You were right about a lot of things. I took advantage of you. We all did. I don't know if we can fix this, but I want to try." Travis stared at the email for a long time. $500 a month. It was something. Not enough. Not nearly fast enough. But it was something. I wrote back, "Travis, 50 a month works. I'll have my lawyer draw up a payment agreement we can both sign. Regarding the apology, I appreciate it, but I need more than words. I need consistent action over time. I need to see that you understand why what happened was wrong, not just that you're sorry you got called out. I'm open to rebuilding eventually, but it's going to take time and effort from all of you, not just me being willing to forgive." His response came an hour later. "That's fair." And then, a week after that, I got a letter in the mail. An actual handwritten letter, on stationery that probably came from Target. "Dear Nova, I don't know how to do this. I'm not good at apologizing or admitting when I'm wrong. Your father used to say that about me, that I had too much pride for my own good, but I'm going to try. You were right about the award ceremony when you were 14. I chose Travis's basketball game over your achievements, and I told myself it was because he needed the support more. But the truth is, it was easier. His needs were loud and obvious. Yours were quiet and manageable. And I took advantage of that. I took advantage of you for years. I convinced myself that you didn't mind helping, that you were happy to be there for family. But I never asked. I just assumed. And when you finally told me otherwise, I called you cruel. I'm the one who was cruel. I don't know if we can fix this. I don't know if you even want to try. But I want you to know that I see you now. Not as the person who solves my problems or helps your brother or babysits the grandkids. I see you as my daughter, who I hurt, who I failed, who deserved so much better than what I gave her. I'm sorry, Nova. I'm so sorry. If you're willing, I'd like to talk. Just talk. No favors, no requests, just a conversation. You can call me, or I can call you, or we can do it over email if that's easier. I love you. I should have said that more. I should have shown it more. I'm saying it now." Mommy read that letter 3 times, sitting on my couch, tears streaming down my face. It wasn't everything. It didn't erase the pain or the years of neglect, but it was a start. I called her that night. We talked for 2 hours. She cried. I cried. We didn't solve anything, but we started the conversation. "I want to come visit you," she said at the end. "In Seattle. Just me. Not Gerald. Not Travis. I want to see your life. Your apartment. Your city. I want to know who you are when you're not being what we need you to be. I'd like that, I said. Whenever you're ready. I'm not going anywhere. She came in March, stayed for 4 days, slept on my pull-out couch, and let me show her around the city I'd built a life in. We went to Pike Place Market, walked along the waterfront, ate at the restaurants I loved. She met my friends, the real family I'd built for myself, the people who showed up when I needed them. On her last night, we sat in my apartment drinking tea, and she said something I'll never forget. I'm proud of you, Nova. I should have said that years ago, but I'm saying it now. I'm proud of who you've become, and I'm grateful you didn't let us destroy that. You almost did, I said honestly. But I'm stubborn. You get that from your father, she said with a small smile. The good parts of him anyway. It's been a year since that Christmas. Travis and Lacey have made every payment on time. My mother and I talk once a week. Real conversations where we both ask questions and actually listen to the answers. Gerald sent me a check for the money I'd loaned him, along with a note that said simply, with interest and apologies. I haven't seen Travis in person yet. We're not there yet, but we email sometimes, and he tells me about the kids, and I tell him about my business. Last month, Brayden, my oldest nephew, sent me a drawing he'd made in school. It was a picture of his family, and in the corner, separate from the cluster of stick figures, was one labeled "and Nova in Seattle." I'm still separate, still apart, but I'm in the picture now, and that's enough. For now, it's enough. If you're listening to this and you recognize yourself in my story, if you're the person who always says yes, who always helps, who's so afraid of being selfish that you've forgotten how to have boundaries, I want you to know something. You're allowed to say no. You're allowed to want things for yourself. You're allowed to cut off people who hurt you, even if they're family, even if they say they love you. Love isn't about what you can provide. It's not about how useful you are or how much you're willing to sacrifice. Real love sees you, respects you, chooses you. If the people in your life don't do that, if they only remember you exist when they need something, you have every right to walk away. It will hurt. It will be scary. They'll call you selfish, ungrateful, cruel, but on the other side of that pain is freedom, and you deserve to be free. My name is Nova Gray. I'm 33 years old, and I spent Christmas Eve alone in an airport, flying away from the family that never really saw me. It was the best Christmas gift I ever gave myself. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever felt like the family bank or the backup plan, drop a comment below. Let's talk about it. You're not alone in this. And if you're someone who's thinking about setting boundaries with your family, do it. I promise you, the guilt is temporary, but your freedom, that's forever. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, because sometimes the most loving thing you can do is stop letting people use your love against you. Thanks for listening. Stay strong. Stay free.